Good morning. Oh, look at this. I have a shadow. All right, let's see if we can adjust ourselves. All right, good morning. Welcome to the last day. Can you believe it's the last day for Parent Shower Week? I do still have my balloon here with me. So thank you for joining us all week long as we celebrated you, all of the amazing parents, especially right now handling COVID, and all of your potential babies at home who are doing virtual school, and for the ones who have the little ones at home, this whole week was for you. So today, this morning, we are going to be joined by Angela, who is the CEO and founder of the Canadian surrogacy community. And so today good morning, welcome to the last day of Parent Shower Week. We hope everyone had a chance to enter all of the amazing giveaways that we had all week long. I think I lost count after like 18 giveaways. So we are so proud for all of the experts and brands that joined us all week long. And we're any second now. In 3, 2, 1, Angela will be with us. Good morning.
Sorry, I think I got a little excited and jumped on quickly.
No, this is perfect timing. Welcome to Parent Shower Week.
Thank you. We're all feeling the parent over here.
Yes, all of your babies are probably home enjoying time.
Yes, they are. And I'm trying to set this up so that I can actually just leave it.
You know what? We're all figuring out this beautiful thing called technology.
Right.
All right, so let me just grab our amazing background. Woohoo, look at that. Miss Angela Peters, the CEO and founder of the Canadian surrogacy community. Okay, Angela, so much to talk about. I'm going to jump right in. I'm going to start by saying, for anybody who's tuning in that may not know, Angela is our resident expert on our Healing Mama panel of healthcare and wellness experts around surrogacy and fertility. So any questions around those topics and subjects, we're going to be talking about it today. Plus, you can always reach out to us or Angela around those topics because we're going to get it all started. So Angela, tell us from the very beginning, where did you come up with this idea of creating a surrogacy agency and community and all the work that you're doing?
So I guess it started a long time ago when I became a surrogate, and I went through the process with a couple that were complete strangers at the beginning and are now like family. And so we were sort of registered with an agency, and then from that I learned a lot of the process and how things were, and started to realize how things should be. And then I met a whole bunch of other women who were amazing, that were doing the same thing I was doing, and it really kind of came down to what we all wanted, we all thought made sense to kind of progress things in Canada in terms of surrogacy and relationship, how it should look. And so after my second surrogacy journey, I worked for an agency briefly, and it made me really feel kind of inspired to start things on my own and do things the way I want. So I did. So that spring, in 2016, I decided to start it, and it was interesting. But it took off quickly, and I became known for sort of the relationship boutique agency in Canada that was much more geared towards really fostering that connection and making experience, because infertility is such a sensitive topic for people, and it is very emotional. So one of the biggest things was trying to understand that while nobody really wanted to be talking to me, nobody really wanted to be going down that road, we can make it as amazing and smooth as possible, and you can really benefit from that human connection with other people.
Exactly. Can you tell us about why you decided to become a surrogate from that perspective? You know, what is it, the thought process that, I mean, if somebody is considering to be a surrogate for a family that is having infertility problems, you know, what is it that you go through to make that choice?
So for me, it was years before I even had my own kids, that idea kind of started. I didn't even know it existed. I didn't know it was a thing. And suddenly I ran into someone inadvertently out in public, and she was pregnant, and I congratulated her, and she started telling me that this was her third surrogacy. And I was like, surrogacy? What is surrogacy? And that was, maybe 4 years before I even started having my own kids. So we got talking briefly, and I was like, oh, like, this is a thing. So I was fascinated. And then I said, I'm going to do this when I'm done having kids. So then I had my own kids, and then watched family members actually start to experience some fertility issues. And it just all kind of clicked, this idea of, oh, I could go back and do that. So I started researching. And when I started researching, I found a Facebook group, and on that Facebook group found this couple who messaged me right away when they found out that I was somewhat local to them. And then we got talking, and it just clicked. I thought, I could do this. And the more I got into it, it was centered around the fact that I had 4 kids in 3 years.
Right.
So I had all my kids kind of bam, bam, bam. And I loved it. My pregnancies were amazing. I had twins in there. I carried them naturally, all full term, all no drugs with any of my kids. It was just, the births were incredible. I had home births, hospital births. So I had kind of been so well versed by the time I was done having my own kids. I thought, geez, man, I don't want more, because 4 is good, but I could totally utilize this amazing body that has been gifted to me and help other people. And that's kind of what.
Got it. So, I mean, when you look at bringing on surrogates into your organization, what is it that you go through to see whether or not they're a fit for the type of candidates that other intended parents are looking for?
So we have probably one of the most vigorous pre-screenings in Canada as far as agencies are concerned, because we don't want anybody getting emotionally and financially attached and going down that road if we aren't almost completely sure of what to expect. So when a surrogate applies, we ask them to fill in an application. It asks them quite a bit of stuff, from anywhere from their periods to all the way to social, economical, to lifestyle support system, all of that stuff, to do your jars. So there's a lot of things to know. Then I set up a call to do a video chat and to talk about the process and the expectations and commitment this requires. If we see yes, this seems like a good fit, there's a lot of feeling, whether or not this person is really has a good understanding as to what we're looking for. If that all is good, we send over all the next steps, which requires, we send requisitions for medical. So medical, doctor, they have to get a letter of recommendation that says, height, weight, blood pressure, and that they're in good health. They have up-to-date pap tests. They have to do all of the blood screening panels. We require infectious disease screening for public health. We need a urine drug screening test. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into this that it does require, a sense of a commitment and an understanding that this is 100%, if I'm going to do this, then. And then once we have all that, we look at building them a profile, and then start talking down that road of creating this great sort of online profile for them.
Okay. And, what are the stories you've heard from your surrogates that that caused them to say, you know what, I'm going to consider being a surrogate myself. This was my journey. And what are some of the stories that come from surrogates who have chosen to become a surrogate?
So we've had everything from surrogates who've lost children, who have experienced that kind of grief that they want to somehow find a way to create life through the life lost. We have had everything from I don't know, I'm trying to think, but we've had stuff that can be, they've had friends, they have gay friends who know that they've been struggling. We have had people who have had family members struggle with infertility. We have all kinds of different background stories for people. And one of the big, really just looking at the why factor. It all sort of plays into people's own personal experiences.
Exactly. And that it's a commitment, like you said, it's a commitment that you have to be 100% involved in the process. So it's something that, you're not going to take lightly. This is a very real life-changing experience for yourself and the couple that you are going to be matched with to support creating their family. Can we talk about the other side of the scale now, the intended parents? So that's I guess, the jargon for the people who are coming on to say, I want to look for a surrogate, and what is their process?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things, I'm just going to make sure this microphone, you can hear me. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we hear you great.
So one of the biggest things with intended parents is looking at, okay, what is it? Why do they need us? What is the main piece in their infertility struggles? What have they tried? What have they experienced so far? What kind of tests and backgrounds, clinics have they worked with? Doctors have they talked to? We go through a lot of their medical history and just discuss, do they need a donor? Is it a gay couple who need a donor? And that they know ahead of time. Is it somebody who's been struggling with infertility? They've had a ton of miscarriages. A lot of people, they have unknown infertility. Right. By that, we mean they don't really ever get an answer as to why. Sometimes we don't know if it's the egg portion, the sperm portion,
right,
or the carrier piece, the uterus piece, right? So there's a bunch of different scenarios that kind of play out into why people end up chatting with me. But we try and make every experience extremely empathetic, because I've watched so many people. I've sat on calls with people in tears going through the process, and they want to know, if this is something viable that they can do, because they're out of options.
Yeah, exactly, for themselves. And so have you had couples who don't necessarily have an infertility struggle and just have chosen, we prefer to go surrogacy versus doing it on our own? Does that come up?
No. So one of the big things is you have to have a viable medical reason. Not wanting to ruin your body is not a viable medical reason. I get it, but at the end of the day, it has to be a reason deemed necessary. And I don't think I've really had anybody come for anything less than severe medical reasons. And one of those things is because you have to have exhausted all other options with yourself. And we've had people even use, donors on themselves, and it still not work. So then it's like getting one side of the equation to, if possibly it's this, and it still doesn't work. So these people have long exhausted that part of it in research.
Okay, and so this is for many intended parents, this is like a final effort for them to create that biological family that they've always dreamed of.
Yeah.
And so in terms of exhausted all efforts, as a couple looking to go into hiring a surrogate, you need to come in with all of your medicals and have that prepared when reaching out to a surrogacy agency.
Yeah, so when you come to me, I'll help you with that. So
right.
you don't have to have anything prior to applying. You just have to have an understanding that there's some basic qualifications. So there are things like, and even it used to be, and I'm always kind of the type that's bucking against the system. So, which you know me well, so you probably know that's me.
We work so great together because of that. It's like, this doesn't work. What can we do to provide a solution?
Absolutely. So over the years, we've actually changed the criteria that has been mainstream for a while. So for instance, you used to have children of your own. And now we're saying that's ideal, but right now I'm working with, and I have in the past, but right now I'm working with a lovely woman who is just, she knew she just never wanted kids. She doesn't have a partner. She just really wants to be able to help somebody. She's decided, just like people come to their own place with helping in other ways, this is something she really wants to do, and she wants to experience pregnancy. She just knows she doesn't want to raise children.
Yes.
And she's older, so there's criteria around that too. But there's always things that we look for to say, medically, you just need to be in good health. And there are things that people might consider, what's health? Well, and then we kind of go through a checklist of basic criteria. You have to be, age. You have to be at least 21. Ideally not older than 45. I'm 41 and I've done 3 journeys now. So
tell us how many babies in total your beautiful body has given to this world.
So I've had 7 babies in total, 4 for myself and 3 for other people. And to be honest, it was so rewarding. It's just rewarding in a different way than having your own. So one of the biggest things is just, kind of going through that check, say, do you fit the criteria? Yes. Do you understand the commitment? Yes. Do you go through, then I send over all the medical stuff. Then they go see. You have to do all that before they can be considered passed.
Right. Exactly. Can you share about the after the baby is born experience for the surrogate, and also what you've seen from the parents? How does that work? How does that look through the childbirth process, the actual labor, delivery, and then after?
So I'll give you one word. It's euphoric.
So, I love it. Oh my goodness. What a great way to start this morning. Euphoric.
So I remember the look, and it doesn't matter what you go through in labor, that look on my intended parents' face the first time they held their baby. It was awestruck. Like, it was, their tears streaming down their face. They realize that they now get to hold their child. It's so different. And I see people jumping on here. I see Alicia. I see people jumping on that are actually with my program, which is so cool. And she just had her beautiful baby through a surrogate.
Oh, congratulations!
So she knows what I'm talking about. And it's so incredible because I would say 75% of surrogates go on to be surrogates again. Right. And it's because of that incredibly amazing experience where they've been able to do something you can't ever put a price on.
Exactly.
It's almost addicting. Like, why have I done this 3 times? Well, and sometimes my job is a bit of a hazard because
it's like, I think I want to do it again.
I know, and I'm kind of like, I gotta shut this baby down soon.
Yes.
I look at the entire thing, and I go, the end game is everybody's goal. And they all have the same goal in mind, and that is to create this family. And from a surrogate's perspective, it's so euphoric that they get to see that beautiful ending, and it's never really an ending because most of everybody just they stay in touch. They're like friends now.
Exactly. Family in many ways.
Totally. And they bond in ways that are so incredible. And I get to watch this, which from a business perspective is like, it's not selling shoes.
The satisfaction is out of this world.
Yes. So it's one of those things where I go, oh, there isn't a job I could, and that's part of the reason why I do this. There isn't a job I could ever feel such rewards in terms of that piece. And I get to meet these incredible women all over Canada who offer of themselves to do this, and then we stay friends, for years and years and years to come, and then I get to meet these amazing people who've been through some of the worst experiences in their lives to get to this point, and we get to bond all of us together and I get to help them manage this start to finish.
So, okay, this is the amazing euphoric side of it.
Yeah.
Can you share if it's happened or if you've seen it in the past where it's just gone downhill? We started the process and we're gonna actually cut it off, or we're gonna keep going, but there's been a lot of struggle. Can you share that other side of the piece?
Absolutely. And we just had one recently. It does happen. It doesn't happen often, thankfully, but it does happen sometimes. Through this process, I've learned through experience. And in the very beginning, we didn't have as diligent a screening process as we do now. And that has come from the fact that too many things got through the cracks that shouldn't have. And
Right.
Are humans, and we learn from our mistakes. And as a program, we're trying to evolve. And those are some things that have happened. Somebody who was young, had no idea she had blood pressure issues, got all the way through to screening at the clinic, and then they said her is hypertension, and we're like, what? And then the whole thing comes to a crashing halt, right? Recently, we had one that is a surrogate that's very, very close to me who had a failed transfer and then a miscarriage at 10 weeks. And I think the relationship just fell apart, and they just couldn't move forward to anymore. And so they've all kind of gone their separate ways. And that's really difficult because I'm kind of like, I always say I'm like Switzerland. I build bonds and relationships on both sides, but I have to stay neutral as possible in that I'm there to support everybody. And I will take a stand. If I know one party is in the wrong, then we talk about that. But in this case, it's just one of those situations where it wasn't a good fit anymore. And I think everybody knew it was better to move forward and to start over. But it's difficult to watch those things happen. And any of this, it doesn't matter if you're in perfect health. I've experienced many failed transfers, and one journey that never ended up with a baby. I've done this 3 times, but I've actually tried 4 times. And the couple ended up walking away and decided not to continue their creating. Yeah. So that was really difficult for me. And I'm not infallible. It's because I deal with it every single day. And so I know what these girls are going through, and I know what these parents do. I have family members that actually ended up getting a surrogate, and I have twin nephews through surrogacy. So it's intricately, interwoven into my life, and I can't imagine doing anything else.
Well, we can't imagine you doing anything else. Please keep doing it. We need your services here in Canada, and of course, for the rest of the world to know that this is a viable option to consider if you've almost exhausted all your other options medically. So, is it possible to talk about the financial side for a couple looking to get into surrogacy? What is the kind of range? You don't have to say exact numbers, like a range that you want to be able to comfortably commit, because from an infertility standpoint, there is quite a bit of cost associated getting to the point of, I have gone through IVF, I have gone through getting my eggs taken out so I can find a donor. I've gone through all of this process, and now, okay, I'm going to go one more step and explore surrogacy.
Yeah, for sure. So in Canada, it is very subjective depending on whether you need a donor. So if, let's say you've created your embryos, okay, so let's say you get to me, you've already got embryos. Then the process itself is fairly straightforward. So there's our agency fees, and I'm really completely transparent about the cost of each program. It's all on my website. And then you have lawyers' fees to do contracts. Then you would have, and you need a lawyer for the surrogate too, so she has legal representation. You also have, the surrogate's expenses throughout the journey. So for the most part, that in the medical procedure, medications, that kind of stuff, you look around $40,000 to $50,000. Now, if you haven't created embryos, you're looking usually around 70 to 80,000.
Right. And so
donor, if you need a donor, if you're using your own eggs, it's always less expensive.
Right. Okay. And donor would be, let's say, a same-sex couple.
Yeah.
Who require, the other side of the equation.
Absolutely.
Got it. Okay. Can you, so you also work with infertility and an infertility clinic, I believe, and providing, your resources and knowledge behind that. So can you talk about that role a little bit with us?
So we have, we've worked with a lot of clinics all over Canada. And then I would say about a year and a half ago, I started realizing that not every clinic is equal. And yes, lots of doctors can create embryos. There's this piece that's missing and has been missing at a lot of places I ended up working with. And it was the patient-driven piece. It's the piece that makes us all still feel human during this very medically,
intense process. Yeah,
it is. So one of the biggest things is we vetted several clinics, and we came up with 3 clinics that are our absolute favorites that scored the top of patient care and third-party programs. And those 3 clinics are partnerships on our website. If we get somebody who has embryos and they want a referral, we always send to one of those clinics, because we believe that not just the embryo creation piece, but then you have a surrogate who is volunteering to do this. We want them to be treated like humans,
Yeah, with dignity and respect. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want them to be another number, coming through the system. We want a doctor who is going to listen to them, who is going to build a protocol that works for them, not based on a doctor's schedule. We want somebody who will work with us to coordinate, because my job is project manager. The idea is that I am the one who is overseeing, making sure each step is properly done, that everything is legal, that everything is moving forward, that everyone's happy. And if I have a clinic who's not working with me, it's really difficult. I don't know what's going on. I have to, find other ways to get information. And so we built programs with these clinics to say, know their process. They will communicate with us. They will keep us in the loop about every step, and I have a direct line to them. So It allows me to be able to say, hey, I've got so-and-so, what's happening? And I can text every single one of these people. And I have a direct line to the doctors. And I don't think people realize how incredibly important that is. I don't care if you're that busy. I got to be honest. I'm of the mindset, if I'm sending you clients, I'm sending you patients, you had better treat them the way I would expect you to treat them, because at the end of the day, I can take my business elsewhere. And I will end up steering them towards a clinic that will treat them better. It is just about creating embryos. And I know that everybody's about their results and everybody's about their success rates, and I get it. Everybody wants a baby, and in order to have a baby, you got to have a qualified, really good doctor. But there's more of those than there is patient-driven doctors.
Right.
So you got to have both.
You need to have both in order to have the whole process run as as possible.
Absolutely. Hey, Maisie. I've got surrogates on here now. I see Justine is on.
Good. Well, actually, this is a great transition. Can you share with us the experience you had using our Healing Mama labor and postpartum system for yourself? Because this is a great time because you've actually used it as a surrogate, and then I'll announce what our big collab together will be in like the coming weeks. So share the actual experience, because this is coming from a birthing person and a surrogate, so you have a perspective of two sides.
Totally. So I'm going to give you your kudos, because this thing is, the packages are brilliant. And at first when we met, because we met at in Kitchener conference.
We literally met on lockdown, the start of just before lockdown in March. We met the Friday, lockdown happened Saturday.
That's right. And I immediately knew you were a woman to be reckoned with. So I'm like, I need to team up with her. So I thought this was brilliant. And really what ended up kind of spearheading it was the idea of, I could share this information with people. But then I realized sometimes people won't do things for themselves. Like there is a real understanding. Like when I was pregnant with my own kids, I could have got a housekeeper, but I didn't bother. And I could have done this and I didn't bother. And I could have treated myself and I didn't bother. But as a surrogate, you're encouraged, because you are doing this not for yourself necessarily. You are doing it for other people that they want to help you. And so you look for ways to be able to be comfortable and to have things for yourself that you maybe wouldn't necessarily do. So what I started to do is, the second COVID hit, it was kind of this trigger of, I have to find other ways to support these girls. And one of those big ways is I used to do a retreat where I got everybody together. 2 years ago, in the summer, we did it at Oakwood Inn. It was
nice.
At this retreat, and we get everybody together. So there's community, which is everything. But we couldn't do that. And I used to go to the births. If we're I've been at so many births. It's been amazing. I used to go visit the girls. I used to go to screening appointments at the clinics. So all of a sudden this came to a halting stop, and I'm like, how do I still create a good support system? So one of the ways was we hooked up, and I'm going to send every single one of my surrogates one of these birth packages, and they're incredible. So you sent me one as a promo thing for me to try, and I was pregnant, and I wasn't very far along when we met, and I was so excited. So this was, I think I used almost everything in that duffel bag. Everything from my snack, because there was a protein bar in there, a birthday cake bar, which was so yummy, and to like mesh panties and pads, and I loved the baths, the herbal baths. I had fun with the kids making them all up. There was so many things. I think I exhausted everything in that bag. Now I have a school duffel bag. So
exactly.
I got to experience it and know what it was like. And it was so easy because everything was there. I thought it was so brilliant. And you label everything. And it's so supportive and so warm. I also found this amazing soap that you had put in the bag that was unbelievable for my skin. So there's so much in there. And now I know you have a whole bunch of different packages. So I send one of them depending on their needs, if they're having a C-section or if they don't know maybe. Then we send them just kind of the big package with everything. But it's always
covers them all the ways.
Yeah, and we sent it now, oh my gosh, I don't know how many, 5, 6 surrogates this year. And I know I have another one coming up soon. And they've all loved them.
That's great. Great. You tell them to let us know how it all went. Because the side of the surrogates experience using our labor and postpartum system is something that we want intended parents to also consider for themselves as if, I mean, not necessarily with the Canadian surrogacy community, but all intended parents who have a surrogate on the way, consider getting them a system, which we are, okay, I'm going to take this time to officially announce that I called up Angela like a month and a half ago and I said, you know what, Angela? Healing Mama is going to create a labor and postpartum system dedicated specifically for surrogates and the surrogates' childbirth and postpartum experience, because it is different from that of a parent coming home with the baby. There is different types of products and different types of information that a surrogate requires versus a new mother. So with that being said, we are going to have this brand new system, and Angela, this is going to be the first time Angela is going to be hearing it from us. We're going to have this ready by February 1st of this year, of 2020. Yeah, in like 3 weeks, we're going to have the surrogate labor and postpartum system available for purchase in our Healing Mama home for a surrogate or an intended parent who has a surrogate on the way. So we will do a big launch and all of that with Angela leading up to it. So Angela, look out for some info from us so we can tell our communities about all of this work that we've done together.
Well, and it's awesome. I know that I had put it in the group that we have on Facebook with all the girls, and we chatted about what they wanted and got a lot of their feedback when we first started talking about this. And it's fabulous. It'll be so nice to give them something that's made for them, you know, that of course is birth, right? But it's also, there's unique things around birth that with a surrogate who may not necessarily be breastfeeding or pumping or doing that. So it's really nice for them to have kind of a package that makes them feel very special.
Mm-hmm. So we are actually working with a company called Matter Company, and I approached her the same time I approached you, and I said, Denise, could we create a tea that is a no more milk tea? And she's like, oh, that's a good idea. So we're going to be in the works to create that.
That's awesome.
System as well.
That's one of the...
Sorry,
that's one of the things that a lot of times they ask me, and it gets posted in the group all the time, like, how do I dry up? How do I dry up my milk?
Yeah, and doing it in a way that is nourishing and not necessarily having to only go the drug route way and then dealing with all of the pain that comes with trying to dry up your milk, because it can be a painful process for many moms and of course for surrogates at this time. So yes. Leading to that question, actually, I just had a question pop up. Do you have the surrogates provide colostrum or any of the breast milk that comes in for their babies when they hand it off, or do they deliver it? Like, is there something like that occurs or that can occur?
Yeah, so it's really ultimately up to them, and ultimately the logistics of where the location of the intended parents are. So for myself, I know for the first day, you know, for the colostrum, first 2 days, and then we knew they were going to switch to formula because they were further away. So, but some will ship.
Okay.
Pump and ship. It really depends if they want it and how bad they want it, and really it's looking at like what's the cost involved to ship the milk and make sure that it's froze properly and so on, so it doesn't go bad. So if they're somewhat local to each other, a lot of times they will continue to. I have some couples that are international, so they're not from Canada, and when they come over, they know they're here for 6 to 8 weeks. So during that time, the surrogate will pump. Yeah, and then they will kind of start to mix in formula a bit so that they can transition back to that when they go home.
Right, got it. Okay. Yeah, that's a question that I had a couple weeks ago and I didn't write it down. I'm glad it came back to me while I had you here. Well,
it really is a personal choice. Mm-hmm. It comes down to, you know, what everybody wants.
So that is a choice for the surrogate to make.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, ultimately it's a choice up to her. Comfortable.
Okay, I got it. Have you had, I'm just going to throw this out there. Have you had any interesting requests from intended parents for their surrogates?
Interesting. No, I've known friends that they pumped for quite a bit of time and shipped it. But other than that, I don't think there's been any really strange requests from intended parents. Now, I think part of it is because I go through what expectations they should and shouldn't have in the beginning.
Right, exactly.
Like
It's very
food, like don't necessarily tell them how to eat because they're well versed in what to put in because they've had most times had kids and they know how to eat, and I keep them sort of informed along the way.
yeah.
But I have had some strange contracts in the beginning that did have a lot of food restrictions, like don't eat raw hot dogs. And I'm like, yeah, I don't remember the last time I ate a raw hot dog.
Yeah.
Maybe 10 or something. But so I'll say to people more in depth now, and we have online courses for our intended parents that help them kind of walk through expectations and information from every part of this. So start to finish all the way to birth and beyond. So no, I have had some interesting surrogate requests. Even for myself, I really wanted maternity photos for myself. For all my pregnancies, I had them, and I really wanted to have that. So that was I asked to be paid for both of us to have memories, and we had birth. So I had asked if they would stay in town, a little longer, so that we could have photos, newborn photos, done with my kids,
Right.
and so that my stepchildren, because my stepchildren come every weekend, so that they could come and see the baby before we left. So there are some requests in terms of family and expectation for the surrogate in order to really go through that whole part of closure.
Yes.
So that is definitely one thing that is something we're very diligent about, making sure everyone has an understanding of closure, but not closure. Because most of the time, everybody stays in touch and it's like it just transitions into an organic friendship, but they still have some closure.
Exactly. Because it does come to an end. Have you had any a moment where maybe a surrogate is a bit too attached? I mean, can that happen? Does that happen?
No. So it's a question everybody will ask, and it's a legitimate question. But
yeah,
one of the things is I'll say to people, the reality is you develop a bond with the intended parents, and the relationship deepens with that couple. So it isn't necessarily the baby that you bond with, it's the parents. And so people will say like, oh, how do you carry a baby and then give a baby up? I'll say you're giving a baby back. And the mentality and the language around doing this is extremely important to keep in the back of your head. So one of the pieces is to say, look, it's not your baby to begin with. You're giving the baby back. You're just growing it for them. And there is that place of peace that you can come to with that language. But also when you build that relationship that's very deep with the couple, it 100% helps, believe it or not, break any potential bond beyond what should be with the baby. Because you want to give them their baby. You don't, and to be honest, for most of us, we're all done having our families and we're like, more kids? No, thank you.
Thank you.
We're really good with the idea that you can take your baby, because guess what? We get to go home and sleep now.
Exactly, and recover, and then move forward. Exactly, move forward with the next step in the growth of the relationship, and watching this baby you help bring to this world grow with their family.
Absolutely.
So you touched on it. You can be a couple from out of Canada to work with a surrogate here in Canada.
Yes. So you can be a couple internationally. I am picky about where I take couples from. I don't tend to take couples from the US because they have the ability there to have surrogacy. I tend to take couples from areas where it's almost impossible or illegal. So I have couples from France, Germany, England. Now in England, they have a similar altruistic process in Canada, but the wait list is very, very long. And in the other countries I usually work with, it's illegal. So they can't actually, so gay couples, no recourse other than adoption, and that is not an easy process. So I tend to lean towards helping people in those situations internationally, because they don't have a lot of other choices, and Canada is a really great choice for them.
Yeah, okay, that makes complete sense. Have you had anyone who is single? Can you be single and go through the process of hiring a surrogate?
Totally. I have this amazing woman, and I'm sure she doesn't mind me mentioning her. Tina is her name. She just matched with a surrogate. She's single. She is like an all go-getter. She runs her own life, and she just never found a partner. So she made embryos. She found me. We connected immediately. She is the salt of the earth. I love her. I've had single gay men. I've had single straight men. I've had lots of people who come and ask for whatever reason, whatever their situation. Doesn't matter. You don't have to be a couple. You can be on your own. I did a consult 3 or 4 months ago with a man who lost his wife to cancer. Yeah, and actually I've had 2 consults like this over the last year. And they want, one had a child already, and wanted to have for his wife's marriage, for his daughter to have another sibling. And then one, he didn't have any kids, and they were able to take eggs from his wife before she did treatment and passed away. And so he wants to create a child from her eggs and then raise her himself.
Got it. So there's so many avenues.
Yeah, absolutely.
That an intended parent or intended parents can come and seek out the services of a surrogate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
All different scenarios.
Right. And so what is the top no-no when it comes to looking at hiring a surrogate or finding a surrogate for yourself?
So my big no-no, to be completely honest, is do not do it independently. One of the biggest things is there's lots of places where surrogates go, well, I don't need an agency. I'll just do it my own. And sometimes it works out. I get it. It does work out, but sometimes it doesn't. And when it doesn't, it goes really, really bad. Don't find a surrogate randomly on Facebook and think that this is a good idea. And I understand, the mindset of saving money. I do. It is not, and I'm super empathetic of this. It is not cheap. It is so expensive to go through this, and I get it. And it's not an option for everybody, in that some people just won't have the money. And I get it. And adoption is no different. Adoption is
very expensive.
Yeah, and so some people don't even have the option, and I totally understand that. But if you go rogue and try and find somebody completely your own, sometimes you can get yourself in a really bad situation. And sometimes you don't understand the process. You can only Google so much. And it's really good to find somebody, whether it's me or somebody else, to just help you through. Make sure the proper things are done. Make sure that you understand what you're getting into. And make sure she's properly screened. Because people, they're just like, well, I have this woman. She's going to volunteer to do it. And I'm like, that's great. Bring her to me. I have a different program for that. If you find your surrogate outside of my program and you still want my services for the rest of it, I will drop you down into a more inexpensive program. And
Got it.
I was just
going to ask that. I was just going to ask, because what if I'm a couple or an individual and I have a family member who said, I will do this with you. I will carry your baby and birth it for you, and then give the baby to you.
Yep.
You can do that. Or if you have a friend or family, somebody, and you come in and say, I have somebody. Can you help me?
Absolutely. And I encourage it because there are so many working parts. And sometimes we think, oh, well, it's great. I have my sister who will do it, or I have it. And sometimes it works and you can do it that way because you know each other. Other times it can actually add a dynamic that is more difficult.
Got it.
Because if you know each other intimately and you are family or friends and you are involved, sometimes it's really good to have a neutral party advocate for both of you, because sometimes if something goes sideways and you need to say something, you're afraid to because you're close with them, or because you don't want to disrupt the entire family dynamic. So it's a really not always as as a beautiful scenario that people let on. My sister's offered to do. I said, great. Then you know what? Bring your sister, bring your friend to me, and I'll go through all the medical screening. I'll go through all of the understanding, the commitment piece. Do you know how many people I talk to that say, oh yeah, so-and-so wants to do it, it's great. And then I go, okay, did so-and-so say so over a couple of drinks while you were vulnerable and chatting and crying about, needing to do this? And she's like, I'll do it. Is that kind of how it went?
Yeah.
Because
it's a lot more involved than that.
Right? So the I'll do it, I get it. That's the kind heart we want. Except that there's so many pieces of this. Like, do you have to probably inject your butt with a big needle of progesterone for every day for like 12 weeks? Yeah, people like, so there's like the process. You have to sign legal agreements. What kind of money is involved. Expenses should be covered regardless of who it is. And there's a lot of working pieces that I'll say, look, if you want someone to be able to direct it and help you and make sure everything is done the way it should be done so you are both protected and safe, then come see me with your friend. I've had lots of people do that. I have programs that people have used, even sibling journeys. So I was just chatting yesterday with one of my IPs who she had a journey already. Her surrogate gave birth last August. And they're thinking about doing another one, and they still want me to manage it. And even though they know each other and they have this relationship, the reality is they once they've been involved, they see the value of the program.
Yes.
And I had to help and intervene and manage a whole bunch of things during the journey, to just help with medical stuff and communication with clinics. So they don't want to do it ever on their own without that guidance and that advocacy.
Yes. And that expertise, because you know exactly what you're doing, where somebody who's doing this for the first time, very much like first time parenthood, you don't know what to do. And you need somebody to give you the roadmap and just be the one, like you mentioned, advocating for both sides of the equation and have it be as fluid and as smooth of a process as humanly possible.
Totally. And that's that. And I'll say to people, if that's the one big no, just don't do it alone. Just don't.
Don't go rogue. Don't go rogue. Don't
I
even go to Dr. Google or Dr. Facebook and find your answers. Just don't do it. In anything, don't do it. Don't use it. They're not licensed. Don't go down that road.
Yeah, totally.
So is there, any other piece of information that we didn't touch on that people need to know and understand? Again, if we didn't already talk about it, can you tell us?
I think that it's just understanding their steps in place for a reason. And it's not as simple as finding someone, like I said, and just saying, yes, I'll have a baby for you. There are things that have to be done in Canada. There are things that can get you in hot water. There are laws in Canada around surrogacy and agencies and what we can and cannot do, what you can and cannot pay for. There are lots of things around that, and you could get yourself in a lot of trouble if you just completely disregard that process. So, there's lots of information you can get just on the internet, but there's lots of information. I do free consults.
So take advantage of it. If you're considering going down this route, take advantage, contact Angela. And now that we're here, can you tell everybody even though I have it on the screen, please tell us also all the ways that people can get in contact with you.
So you can go to my website at www.surrogacycommunity.ca, and you can go under the applications or contact me. You can send me an email,